No answer. Just as she was about to move, a cold, clammy sensation wrapped around her toes. She looked down in horror as a hand, pale and veined, emerged from beneath the bed and tightened its grip. It was Loren, eyes wide and unblinking, muttering words she didn't understand. The grip was firm, almost pleading, and tears brimmed in his eyes as he whispered, "Don't let it take me." Before Faith could react, he was gone, leaving only the echo of his desperate words and the cold imprint of his touch. If you like, I can continue this and flesh it out into a longer, more developed story with twists, background reveals, and a climactic resolution. The reality TV show 90 Day Perverts had always towed the line between outrageous and sinister. Known for its bizarre challenges, the show prided itself on being unpredictable. Yet no one could have anticipated what was to come when Faith, a bright contestant with hopes of fame, stepped into the mansion alongside Loren, a contestant whose cold demeanor concealed dark secrets. The mansion's whisper Faith walked through the grand foyer, the echo of her heels swallowed by the vast emptiness. The mansion stood as a fortress of forgotten stories, its walls heavy with secrets. The producers had chosen it specifically for its haunted past, a gimmick to pull ratings, but the history felt more real than anyone dared to admit. Loren lingered at the edge of the room, eyes fixed on the floor. There was something haunted in the way he moved, as if every step carried the weight of something unseen. Contestants would glance at him, only to look away quickly when his eyes met theirs. Faith felt his presence more than anyone, an almost magnetic pull, as if she were tethered to him by some unseen thread. Isolation night, the challenges had grown progressively darker. One night, the producers announced an isolation night. Faith's heart thudded when she realized she'd be confined to her room, a dim space with a cracked vanity and a bed that groaned with age. The door locked behind her with a final click, sealing her in with the creaks and groans of the old mansion. The wind howled outside, rattling the window panes, but it was the silence within that unnerved her most. Faith lay awake, staring at the ceiling when she heard it. A dragging sound, like nails being drawn across wood, growing louder and stopping right outside her door. She sat up, pulse racing. A knock, light and deliberate, echoed through the room. "Loren?" she whispered, uncertain and trembling. There was no answer, only silence. The legend of the mansion, a crew member, an older woman named Martha who'd been with the show for years, pulled Faith aside after seeing her distress. "You need to be careful around him," Martha warned. "This place holds darkness, and some souls are more sensitive to it." Martha shared the mansion's history, a tale of betrayal, and a spirit known as the Grasper. "They say it seeks out those who've lost hope," she added, eyes darting nervously around the room. "And Loren, he carries too much of it." The breaking point Faith decided to confront Loren, determined to understand the connection between him and the haunting. But when she entered his room, she found him in the center, surrounded by marks on the floor, symbols carved in desperation. His head snapped up, eyes bloodshot and wild. "It wants you next," he choked out. Before she could react, the temperature plummeted, and shadows in the corners of the room deepened, moving of their own accord. One by one, the candles flickered out, leaving them in pitch darkness. Then in the silence, the familiar cold grasp curled around her ankle, and she knew there was no escaping it. Sacrifice and sadness, the next morning brought an announcement that shook the cast and crew to their core. Loren was missing. His room was found empty, the symbols scratched into the floor smeared with blood. Faith's heart sank, guilt and grief intertwining as she realized that whatever had taken him had not gone willingly. This outline sets the stage for a detailed, chilling narrative involving psychological tension, paranormal elements, and the emotional turmoil of the characters. If you'd like, I can continue writing from any chapter, or provide the rest of the story in full detail. Here's an extended story that brings the tension, creepiness, and emotional depth. The mansion, chosen as the main set for 90 Day Perverts, was a masterpiece of early 19th century architecture, with dark hallways that seemed to stretch into the unknown and rooms that exhaled a deep, unsettling cold. The show, infamous for its outlandish antics and questionable taste, had a new goal. A series of challenges set in the mansion to push contestants to their psychological limits. Among the cast were Faith, a witty and strong-willed woman looking for her break, and Loren, whose quiet intensity spoke of hidden stories. From the first day, Faith noticed that Loren was different. He spoke little, his eyes searching the shadows as if they spoke to him. Most of the other contestants avoided him, and he seemed content to stay on the periphery, observing but not engaging. But it was on the sixth night that things took a turn no one anticipated. Tonight's challenge is Isolation Night. The producer's voice crackled over the intercom, followed by nervous laughter among the cast. The rules were simple. Each contestant would stay in their own room, alone until morning. Cameras were placed in the corners, their red lights blinking reminders that every moment was being watched, recorded, exploited for drama. Faith was guided to her room, a chamber with high, arched windows and heavy velvet drapes. The air inside was stale, carrying the faint scent of dust and something metallic. She shivered as the crew locked the door behind her. Hours passed. The dim light of the camera glowed like a solitary eye, watching her shift restlessly. Faith tried to distract herself by tracing the intricate carvings on the wooden headboard. Each knot and swirl in the design felt deliberate, as if they concealed a secret. Suddenly, a creak shattered the silence. Faith's head snapped up, eyes darting to the door. The sound of footsteps echoed in the hall, slow and deliberate. Her breath quickened as the footsteps stopped right outside her room. She waited, expecting a crew member or one of the contestants to break the tension with a prank. But there was only silence.